Grammar is the system of a language. People sometimes think grammar is boring, or they might believe it is too difficult to master completely. However, grammar is very important for clear and effective communication. It helps us to construct sentences that make sense to other people. When we use good grammar, others can understand our intended meaning much better. This principle applies equally to our spoken English conversations. It is also fundamentally true for all of our written English communications as well. Good grammar simply makes your English sound more natural and far more correct to listeners and readers alike. Think of grammar as being similar to the rules of a popular game. If you know all the rules well, you can play the game successfully. If you do not know the rules, you will probably make many mistakes. You might also confuse the other players who are participating with you. In the English language, grammar rules help us to put words together in the correct and logical order. This means your thoughts and ideas are expressed clearly. People will not misunderstand what you are trying to say. Learning grammar certainly takes dedicated time and consistent practice, but it is an extremely useful skill for everyone to develop. Using correct grammar consistently can open many new doors for you in life. For example, it is very important for your professional career. Many employers actively look for people who can communicate clearly and well. Good grammar skills help you to write much better emails and reports at work. It also greatly assists you during important job interviews and when giving presentations. In your academic studies, clear writing and speaking are absolutely essential for success. Your teachers and professors will undoubtedly appreciate your well-structured and grammatically correct work. It clearly shows that you are careful and professional in your approach to all tasks. This guide aims to help you understand English grammar more easily. We will carefully look at the most important rules you need to know. We will always use simple language that is easy to follow. We will provide you with many practical examples for each point. You will also learn about some very common mistakes that learners often make. And importantly, we will show you effective ways how to avoid them in your own English. Our main goal is to make grammar feel less difficult for you. We sincerely want you to feel more confident whenever you use the English language. So, let's begin this learning journey together. Remember, every single step you take improves your overall understanding. Tenses are a very important part of grammar because they tell us when an action happens. In the English language, we use several different tenses to indicate time. We will start our discussion with the simple tenses. These fundamental tenses are the present simple, the past simple, and the future simple. The present simple tense is used to describe habits or general truths. For example, the sentence, "I drink coffee every morning," describes a personal habit. Another example is, "The earth revolves around the sun." This sentence states a general, unchanging truth. We also use it for scheduled future events like, "The conference begins next Monday." To correctly form the present simple tense, we generally use the base form of the verb. However, for the third person singular subjects, he, she, and it, we usually add s or es to the end of the verb. For instance, you would say, "She works in a large hospital," or "He likes to play tennis," and "It often snows here in winter." For the subjects I, you, we, and they, we use the base form of the verb without adding an s. For example, "I play the guitar." "You speak English very well." "We live in a small town." "They study biology at university." A common mistake is forgetting the a's for he, she, or it. The past simple tense is used to talk about actions that started and finished in the past. We usually know, or it is understood, when the particular action happened. For example, "I visited my grandparents last weekend." The action, "visited my grandparents," is completely finished. The specific time, "last weekend," is clearly mentioned in the sentence. To make the past simple tense for regular verbs, we typically add ed to the base form of the verb. For example, the verb walk becomes walked. The verb play becomes played. The verb work becomes worked. However, many common verbs in English are irregular verbs. For these irregular verbs, you unfortunately need to learn their unique past simple forms. For example, the verb go changes to went in the past simple. The verb eat changes to ate. The verb see changes to saw. It is a very good idea to create a list of common irregular verbs and study them regularly. The future simple tense describes actions or states that will happen in the future. We often form this tense using will or the phrase be going to. For example, I will call you later this evening, or you could say, I'm going to watch a new film tonight. Will is frequently used for spontaneous decisions or predictions, while be going to is often for pre-existing plans. Now, let us move on to explore the continuous tenses in English. These tenses are used to describe actions that are, were, or will be in progress at a particular point in time. They are sometimes also called progressive tenses because they emphasize the ongoing nature of an action. The present continuous tense describes an action that is happening right now, at this very moment. For example, I am reading an interesting book. This sentence clearly means that I'm in the process of reading at the time of speaking. We form the present continuous with am/is/are plus verbing. For instance, she is cooking dinner for her family. They are playing football in the park. It can also describe temporary situations or definite future plans. The past continuous tense is used to describe an action that was in progress at a specific time in the past. Often this action was interrupted by another shorter action. For example, I was watching television when you telephoned me. The action of watching television was ongoing when the phone call occurred. We form the past continuous with was, were plus verbing. For example, he was sleeping soundly at 10 p.m. last night. We were studying diligently for our important exam all day yesterday. A common mistake for learners is using the past simple when the past continuous is actually needed to correctly show an ongoing past action that was interrupted. Perfect tenses are generally used to talk about actions that were completed before another specific time or action. The present perfect tense is very useful because it connects the past with the present time. For example, I have visited Paris 3 times in my life. This means that I visited Paris at some point in the past, and this experience or its result is still relevant or important now. We form the present perfect tense with have-has plus past participle. The past participle for regular verbs is the same as their past simple form, verb ed. For irregular verbs, the past participle form can often be different, such as gone from go or eaten from eat. The past perfect tense describes an action that happened and was completed before another action or specific time in the past. For example, when I arrived at the station, the train had already left. The action of the train leaving happened before the action of my arrival. We form the past perfect tense with had plus past participle. For instance, she had finished all her homework before she went out to play. Understanding the correct sequence of these past events is very important here. There are also future continuous and future perfect tenses, but the simple, continuous, and present past perfect tenses we have discussed are the most common ones you will frequently use in daily English. Practice them often. Nouns are extremely important words in the English language, forming the backbone of most sentences. A noun is essentially a word that names a person, a specific place, a tangible thing, or an abstract idea. For example, the word teacher, a person, the word city, a place, the word book, a thing, and the word happiness, an idea, are all classified as nouns. Nouns can be singular, which means there is only one of them, such as cat or house. They can also be plural, which means there is more than one, such as cats or houses. Most nouns form their plural by simply adding s or es to the singular form. Learning to correctly identify nouns is a fundamental step in understanding English sentence structure. There are several different types of nouns that you should become familiar with. Common nouns refer to general categories of people, places, or things like dog, country, or student. These are not capitalized unless they begin a sentence. Proper nouns, on the other hand, name specific individuals, particular places, or unique things. Proper nouns must always start with a capital letter, regardless of their position in a sentence. Examples of proper nouns include John, France, and Monday. Countable nouns are items that we can easily count, such as apples, 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples. Uncountable nouns refer to things that we generally cannot count as individual units like water, rice, or information. We cannot say 2 waters. Instead, we might say 2 glasses of water. Pronouns are very useful words that take the place of nouns in sentences. We use pronouns primarily to avoid repeating the same nouns over and over again, which can make our speech or writing sound monotonous and awkward. Using pronouns helps our sentences to flow much more smoothly and naturally. For example, instead of saying Mary is tired, Mary wants to sleep, we can effectively say Mary is tired, she wants to sleep. In this improved sentence, the word she is a pronoun that directly replaces the noun Mary. Common subject pronouns that you will use frequently are I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. Object pronouns include me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. Possessive pronouns are used to show ownership or possession of something. Examples of possessive pronouns include mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, and theirs. For instance, you might say, this blue pen is mine. Reflexive pronouns such as myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves refer back to the subject of the sentence, indicating that the subject performs an action on itself. For example, he taught himself to play the guitar. It is critically important to use the correct pronoun form that agrees with the noun it is replacing in terms of number and gender. A common mistake is using the wrong case, for example, incorrectly saying, me and John went to the park instead of the correct form, John and I went to the park. Always place the pronoun I last in such phrases. Adjectives are descriptive words that modify nouns or pronouns in a sentence. They provide us with more specific information about the person, place, thing, or idea being discussed. For example, in the phrase a beautiful flower, the word beautiful functions as an adjective. It clearly tells us more about the noun flower. Adjectives usually appear directly before the noun they describe, as in a red car or an old house. They can also come after a linking verb such as be, seem, or feel. For instance, the car is red. Or you might say, she seems very happy today. Adjectives are vital for making our language more colourful, vivid, and precise. Adjectives can express a wide variety of qualities. These qualities include size, such as big, small, tiny, or enormous; shape, like round, square, or triangular; colour, for example, blue, green, yellow, or purple; texture, such as smooth, rough, soft, or hard; and opinion, like good, interesting, wonderful, or terrible. It is perfectly acceptable and often desirable to use more than one adjective to describe a single noun for greater detail. When we use multiple adjectives together before a noun, there is often a generally preferred order for them. For example, we usually say, a lovely small old red plastic box, following the order of opinion, size, age, colour, and material. Learning this conventional order can help your English sound more natural to native speakers. However, do not worry excessively about this specific order when you are a beginner. Adverbs are words that modify verbs, adjectives, or even other adverbs. They provide additional information about how, when, where, or to what extent an action is performed or a quality exists. A great many adverbs, though not all of them, end with the letters li. For example, consider the sentence, he speaks slowly and clearly. Here, slowly and clearly are adverbs. They describe how he performs the action of speaking, which is a verb. In the phrase, she is very tired, the word very is an adverb. It modifies the adjective tired, telling us the degree of her tiredness. In he works extremely hard, extremely is an adverb that describes another adverb, hard. There are several categories of adverbs. Adverbs of manner tell us how something happens or is done, like quickly, carefully, well, or badly. Adverbs of time tell us when an action occurs, such as now, yesterday, soon, or later. Adverbs of place tell us where an action happens, for example, here, there, outside, or everywhere. Adverbs of frequency tell us how often an action is performed, like always, sometimes, never, often, or rarely. A very common mistake is to use an adjective when an adverb is actually required by the grammar rules. For example, incorrectly saying he drives quick instead of the correct form, he drives quickly. Remember, adverbs often describe actions or verbs, while adjectives primarily describe things or nouns. Prepositions are typically small words that serve a crucial function. They show the relationship between a noun or pronoun and other words within a sentence. They very often tell us important information about location, which is where something is, direction, meaning where something is going, or time, as in when something happens. Some of the most common prepositions you will encounter and use are in, on, at, under, over, behind, to, from, for, with, and by. For example, consider the sentence, "The book is on the table." In this instance, the word on is a preposition. It clearly shows the location of the book in relation to the table. Prepositions are absolutely essential for creating clear, precise, and meaningful sentences in English. Prepositions of place are used to tell us where something or someone is located. For example, the cat is sleeping under the bed, or she currently lives in London. Another example is, he is waiting for his friend at the bus stop. It is very important to learn which specific preposition to use in different situations, as usage can sometimes seem arbitrary. For instance, we generally use in for larger enclosed spaces or geographical areas like cities, countries, or rooms. We typically use on for surfaces like tables, floors, or streets. We often use at for specific points, addresses, or public places like at the corner or at the library. There are many such established patterns and collocations to learn over time. Prepositions of time are used to tell us when something happens or is scheduled to occur. For example, you might say, "The important meeting is scheduled at 3 p.m," or "I will definitely see you on Monday morning." Another common usage is, "He was born in the year 1990. As a general guideline, we use at for specific clock times, such as at 5 o'clock or at midnight. We use on for particular days of the week and specific dates, like on Sunday or on May 5th. We use in for longer, less specific periods of time, such as months, years, seasons, or decades, for example, in July, in 2024, in summer, or in the 1980s. Getting these time prepositions correct will make your scheduling and descriptions much clearer and more accurate. Prepositions can also indicate direction of movement. For example, she walked to the park, or he jumped over the high fence. Furthermore, they can show the instrument or means by which something is done, such as, he wrote the long letter with a special pen, or she usually travels to work by train. Learning prepositions can indeed be quite tricky for many English learners, because their correct use often depends heavily on the specific context and idiomatic expressions. There are not always strict, unbreakable rules, and many prepositions are integral parts of fixed phrases or phrasal verbs. The most effective way to learn them is through consistent practice, extensive reading, and careful listening to how native speakers naturally use them in everyday conversation. Articles are very small but very significant words that come before nouns or noun phrases. There are only 3 articles in the English language: a, an, and the. The words a and an are known as indefinite articles. We use these articles when we are talking about a singular, countable noun in a general way, not a specific one that has been previously identified. We use a before a noun that begins with a consonant sound. For example, a cat, a big dog, or a university. Do note that university starts with a Y consonant sound. We use an before a noun that begins with a vowel sound, for instance, an apple, an interesting story, or an hour. Notice that the H in hour is silent, so it starts with a vowel sound. The word the is known as the definite article. We use the when we are talking about a specific noun that both the speaker and the listener, or the writer and reader, already know about or can easily identify from the context. For example, "Can you please pass me the book on the table?" This implies we both know which specific book is being referred to. We also use the when there is only one of something in existence or in a particular context, such as the sun, the moon, the President of the United States, or the kitchen in this house. Using articles correctly can be quite challenging for many learners of English. A common mistake is either omitting an article when one is necessary, or using a or and when the is actually required for specificity, or vice versa. Conjunctions are connecting words. Their primary function is to join together individual words, phrases, or entire clauses within a sentence. They play a crucial role in helping to make sentences more complex, coherent, and flowing, rather than being a series of short, choppy statements. Some of the most common conjunctions you will frequently use include and, but, also, because, although, while, and if. The conjunction and is used to add similar information or to link two related ideas such as I like tea and coffee equally. The conjunction but is used to show a contrast or an opposition between two ideas. For example, he is very rich, but he is not particularly happy. Or is used to present a choice or an alternative, as in, do you want tea or coffee? The conjunction so is used to show a result or a consequence of a previous statement. For example, it was raining heavily this morning, so I decided to take an umbrella with me. The conjunction because is used to introduce a reason or an explanation for something, such as, I stayed at home all day yesterday because I was feeling tired. The conjunction, although, shows an unexpected contrast or concession. For example, although it was very cold outside, he still went for a long swim in the lake. Using conjunctions effectively helps you to express more complex and nuanced ideas in your communication. It also makes your writing and speaking style much more interesting and sophisticated. Practice joining simple sentences using different conjunctions to observe how the overall meaning changes and improves. A sentence, in its most fundamental form, is a group of words that expresses a complete thought or idea. To be considered grammatically complete, a sentence in English usually needs at least two essential components, a subject and a verb. The subject of the sentence is typically who or what is performing the action or who or what is being described. The verb is the word that expresses the action or a state of being. For example, in the very simple sentence, the dog barks, the phrase the dog is the subject and the word barks is the verb. This represents a very basic subject-verb or SV sentence structure. Understanding this fundamental structure is the absolute first step towards building correct and more complex sentences. Many English sentences also include an object. The object of a sentence is the noun or pronoun that receives the action of the verb. When an object is present, the basic structure often becomes subject-verb-object or SVO. For example, in the sentence, the dog chased the ball, the phrase the ball is the object because it is the thing that the dog chased. It is important to know whether a particular verb typically takes an object. These are called transitive verbs, or does not usually take an object. These are called intransitive verbs. For example, the verb sleep is an intransitive verb, he sleeps. We do not say he sleeps a bed. Instead, we would say he sleeps in a bed, using a prepositional phrase to add more information. We can add much more detail and richness to our sentences by using descriptive words like adjectives and adverbs, as well as by including prepositional phrases. For example, consider this more detailed sentence. The big fluffy dog quickly chased the bright red ball in the park. This sentence is significantly more descriptive and informative than the simpler versions. Prepositional phrases, like in the park, often tell us important details about where, when, or how something happened. Adjectives like big, fluffy, and red describe the nouns, such as dog or ball. Adverbs like quickly describe the verb, in this case chased, indicating how the action was performed. Arranging these elements in the correct order is key to clear and effective communication. English generally follows a subject-verb-object-word order in declarative statements. There are several different types of sentences based on their purpose. A declarative sentence makes a statement or states a fact. For example, it is a sunny and beautiful day today. An interrogative sentence asks a question, such as, is it a sunny and beautiful day today? These usually end with a question mark. An imperative sentence gives a command, makes a request, or offers instructions. For instance, please open the window or don't touch that. The subject, which is you, is often implied. An exclamatory sentence expresses strong emotion or surprise. For example, what a sunny and beautiful day it is. These usually end with an exclamation mark. Learning to form these different sentence types correctly will make your English communication much more versatile and expressive. Pay close attention to word order and appropriate punctuation for each type. For instance, in questions, we often invert the subject and an auxiliary verb, so he is happy becomes, is he happy? Throughout this guide, we have covered many of the most important and fundamental areas of English grammar. We have carefully looked at tenses, nouns and pronouns, adjectives and adverbs, prepositions, articles, conjunctions, and the basic principles of sentence structure. Understanding these essential basics is absolutely crucial for achieving effective and confident communication in English. Remember that grammar is not simply an abstract set of complicated rules that you must memorize without thought. Instead, it is a powerful tool that helps you to express your thoughts, ideas, and feelings clearly, accurately, and appropriately. The more you understand and can apply English grammar, the more confident and capable you will become when using the language in various situations. Learning grammar effectively is definitely a journey, not a final destination that can be reached quickly. It requires a significant investment of time, a good deal of patience with yourself, and most importantly, a lot of consistent and focused practice. Do not ever be afraid to make mistakes as you learn and experiment with new structures. Mistakes are a completely natural and unavoidable part of the entire learning process for any new skill. The truly important thing is to learn valuable lessons from those mistakes and continue to improve. Review the grammar rules regularly. Actively try to notice how grammar is used by native speakers when you are reading English texts or listening to spoken English. Always ask questions if you are unsure about a particular grammar point or usage. There are numerous excellent resources available to help you, such as grammar textbooks, educational websites, and language learning apps. The single best way to improve your practical grammar skills is to use the English language as much and as often as you possibly can. Try to engage in conversations in English with native speakers or with other fellow learners whenever you have the opportunity. Make an effort to write regularly in English, perhaps by keeping a journal, writing emails, short stories, or even blog posts. Read a wide variety of materials in English, including books, newspapers, articles, and websites that interest you. Watch movies and television shows in English, perhaps with subtitles at first, then without. The more you actively immerse yourself in the English language environment, the more natural and intuitive grammar will eventually become for you. Pay close attention to how correct grammar is used by proficient speakers and writers in these real-life contexts. This will significantly help you to internalize the rules and patterns. Finally, make sure to keep practicing regularly and try to stay motivated throughout your learning journey. Set small, specific, and achievable goals for your grammar learning. For example, you could decide to focus on understanding and practicing one particular grammar point each week. It is also important to acknowledge and celebrate your progress along the way, no matter how small it may seem. Remember the reasons why you started learning English in the first place and what you ultimately hope to achieve with your improved language skills. Good grammar will undoubtedly help you reach your personal, academic, or professional goals. We sincerely hope that this comprehensive guide has been helpful and encouraging for you. Keep learning, keep practicing diligently, and most of all, enjoy your ongoing English language journey. Good luck with your studies.